Okay, this is a video of me reading and explaining each step of the Gemara. This will be for Sugyot number 3 and Sugyot number 4. So this is going to be for the second test this year. Okay, we're going to start from 4 lines from the bottom. We are on Kuf Amud Aleph in Pesachim, 10th parak of Pesachim, Daf Kuf Amud Aleph. Okay, so all you need to know before the Gemara begins is there was a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi regarding if it was Erev Shabbos and you were eating your meal and Shabbos comes, do you need to stop your meal and then make Kiddush for Shabbos, or can you continue eating your meal and then make Kiddush? Okay, so Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Ein halacha, the halacha is not, lo ki Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Yehuda, who said that you must stop the meal, right? He said you have to remove the table, which means stop the meal. V'lo ki Rabbi Yossi, and not like Rabbi Yossi, who says that you don't have to remove the table. We don't hold like anyone. We don't hold that you have to stop the meal, and we don't hold that you don't have to stop the meal. Rather, it's kind of something in between. Ella, rather, what do? Pores mappa, you spread out a cloth, right, to cover the table, umekadesh, and then you make kiddush. And then you can continue your meal. So you don't have to totally stop your meal like Rabbi Yehuda said. Right? Rabbi Yehuda said you have to totally stop your meal, clear off the tables, complete your meal, bench, and then make kiddush. And then you can start eating again. You don't have to do all of that. Rather, you just have to spread out a cloth over the table, over the food, make kiddush, and then you can continue eating. Okay, now the Gemara is going to challenge this statement of Rabbi Yehuda quoting Shmuel. Is it true? Eini, is it true? Is this so? Is it so that Shmuel really holds this, that you just have to spread out a cloth? But we're going to see that he said something that seemed to be not like that. He said something that seems like he was saying you have to actually stop to make kiddush, stop the meal. Okay, V'ha'amar Rav Tachlifa bar Avdimi Amar Shmuel. Rav Tachlifa, the son of Avdimi, said that Shmuel said. Okay, so he also quoted Shmuel saying the following. What did he say? He said a following statement. Kishem shemafsikin lekiddush, just like we stop the meal for kiddush, kach mafsikin lahavdalah, so too we stop for havdalah. Okay, that was a statement. It was discussing something else. It was really discussing comparing Kiddush to Havdalah and saying just like we have to stop the meal for Kiddush, we also have to stop for Motzei Shabbos for Havdalah, that if you're having a meal and then Shabbos ends, you're supposed to stop your meal to make Havdalah. So because he happened to have said that, he did say the word Kishem Shemafsikin Kiddush. He told us that you have to stop for Kiddush. So we see that Shmuel holds you have to stop. The Gemara continues and says, right, analyze this. My mafsikin, what does the word mafsikin mean? Lav, is it not? La kirat shulchan, doesn't that sound like, right, to remove the table? In other words, to stop the meal, right? Because the word mafsikin comes from the word hefsek, which means to stop, right? You have an interruption, right? So the Gemara was assuming that that's what it means, because that's what it sounds like. And therefore, we have an attack now on the previous statement that Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, who said that you only have to spread out a cloth. This sounds like you have to stop the meal. The Gemara defends a very simple defense and says, no, you were wrong. Lamapa. When it said mafsikin, right? Mafsikin likiddush, kach mafsikin likavdalah, when he said that, it meant pause the meal, like stop it, not totally stop the meal, like you have to clear off, but rather pause the meal, put a tablecloth over it to show that you're pausing the meal, and it's Shabbos is coming. It's a new kind of like a new meal for Shabbos, making kiddush, and then you could take the tablecloth off. Okay, so therefore there's no attack that can line up. So again, going back, what we just did, we said this statement over here. Let me get my spotlight, it'll be easier. Okay, this statement over here actually matches up with Rabbi Yehuda's statement in the name of Shmuel, because he said you have to spread out a cloth to make kiddush, And we just explained that this quote from Shmuel also, when he said Mafsikin Likdush, also means that you have to spread out a tablecloth, and that's all good. Okay, the Gemara first thought it meant stop the meal. Then it said, no, it actually means just to spread up the tablecloth. Okay, then we have a statement, the last part of this sugya. Rabba bar Rav Huna, Rabba the son of Rav Huna, Ikla lebei Reish Galuta. He came to visit the Reish Galuta. The Reish Galuta was the head of the Jewish people in exile, appointed by the government, very holy person, right? Someone who can lead Klal Yisrael. So he visited the house, Lebei, the house of Reish Galuta. Reish is the head, Galuta of the Galut, the head of, so it's called the Reish Galuta. Now what happened? Aisu tako kame, they brought out a tray in front of him, which means they gave him the meal, to start the meal. And he was starting to eat the meal. And it was Friday and Shabbos came. So what did the Reish Galuta do in this situation, right? What did he do in this situation? Peiras mappa v'kidesh. We see, look, he spread out a cloth, he spread out a mappa, v'kidesh, and he made kiddush. So we see, right, this is a kind of like a support, right? It's a statement that we're just showing that the Reish Galuta also holds this, right? That it's really a statement. It's interesting that the Reish Galuta also holds of Rabbi Yehuda quoting Shmuel. So we see that the Reish Galuta also holds this. Okay, that is sugya number 3. Okay, we're going to go to sugya number 2 right now. Sugya number 4. Okay, starts from the word Osam b'nei Adam. We are now on Kuf Amud Bet. Kuf Amud Bet. Again, we're learning Arvei Pesachim. Here we go. Osam b'nei Adam, those people, shekidju b'beit knesset, that make kiddush in shul. Regarding those people, Amar Rav said, Yedei yayin lo yatsu. The obligation of wine, they were not yotze, they did not fulfill. That refers to the obligation to say hagafen on wine. They did not fulfill that obligation, meaning if they went home, they would still have to make another hagafen, even though they said hagafen in shul. Because you change places, you have to say the bracha again. So Rav says, Yedei yayin lo yatsu, the obligation of the bracha of wine, you were not yotze. Yedei kiddush yatsu, but you were yotze the mitzvah of kiddush, meaning even though you changed places, you went home, you do not have to repeat kiddush. Ushmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, okay, now we're on Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph. Af Yedei Kiddush Lo Yatsu. He says that even the obligation of Kiddush you did not fulfill. So not only Shmuel says, not only were you not fulfilling the mitzvah, the obligation to say the bracha, you also were not Yotze Kiddush. Okay, so looking in the situation, we see Rav is a little bit more chill. He says that no, it's okay. You switch places, you could Yotze Kiddush, it's fine. Shmuel's a little bit more strict. He says no, you have to make sure that you make Kiddush again when you go home because you switched places. Okay. The Gemara asks an attack question on Rav. Rav doesn't seem to make sense. Elul Rav, but according to Rav, who says that you have to make Kiddush again when you get home? Lama leila kadusha bebete. Why in the world would you make Kiddush when you went home? I'm sorry. Oh, 1 second. Oh, I'm not sure if I said this wrong before. Again, Rav is more chill, correct? Rav is more chill. He says, you're Yotze Kiddush. Okay, I think I said that way before. If I didn't, that's correcting that way. Rav is the one that's more chill. And the question is, if you're Yotze Kiddush in shul, why do people make Kiddush when they're home? What's the whole story? We know everyone makes Kiddush when they're home, even if they hear Kiddush in shul. So that's the question. Why do you need to make Kiddush in your house? The Gemara defends and says the reason is in order to be motzi, which means help his household, the people in his house who weren't in shul, also fulfill their obligation. Okay, he wants to take them out of their obligation. So that's why we make Kiddush in general. The custom is we always make Kiddush at home so that we can be motzi everyone else. That's what Rav would say. That's how Rav would explain why everyone makes Kiddush at home. Okay, but for the record, according to Shmuel, it makes sense why everyone makes Kiddush at home, because you have to. Okay, because you weren't Yotzei Kiddush, even yourself. Shmuel, the Gemara attacks Shmuel. Shmuel, lama lila Kiddush b'beit Kanishta. Why do I need to make Kiddush in Shul, according to Shmuel? Right? Shmuel holds that you have to make Kiddush again at home, right? Anyways, so what in the world? What are we doing making Kiddush in Shul if, anyways, everyone has to go make Kiddush again at home? What's the point? Gemara answers, the Gemara defends Shmuel by saying, oh, you want to know why you make Kiddush in Shul? It's not for the people going home, because of course they're going to go home and they have to make Kiddush anyways. But le'afuke orchim yidei chovatan, to be motzi the guests, to help the guests take them out of their obligation, meaning for them to fulfill their obligation of Kiddush, the guests in the community. Okay, it was very common back in the day, a long time ago, when people come to town, what would they do? De'achalu v'shatu v'ganu. So these are three things. They would eat. Number one, they would eat. V'shatu, they would drink. Right? La'achol, l'shtot, v'ganu means to sleep. They would eat, drink, and sleep in the Beit Kanishta, in the Beit Knesset, in the shul, and therefore they had to hear Kiddush. So they made Kiddush in shul so that all those people could hear Kiddush. Okay. Last part of this Gemara. So this is actually what we called Sugyot number 4, part 2. Okay, this is what we had. We did this in 2 parts. This is the second part of the Sugya. The Azda Shmuel Taimei, Shmuel goes according to his reasoning, meaning why does Shmuel hold that you actually have to repeat Kiddush? Okay, why? What's the reason? So Shmuel follows his reasoning. This is his own view. What's his own view? The Amar Shmuel says there's a rule about Kiddush. Ein Kiddush ela b'makom seudah. Kiddush can only be in the place of a meal. You have to have Kiddush in the place where a meal is eaten. Okay, we actually hold this way. This is something that we do hold. We pass in this way, that Kiddush needs to be in a place where you're eating. Okay. Now, Sagor Mina, says the Gemara, the people, the students listening and learning from Shmuel, this idea from Shmuel, the people thought, Hani Mili, when were these words said that you need Kiddush in the place of a meal? And if you switch places, you have to repeat Kiddush. Mi bayit lebayit. That's only talking about when you're going from one house to another house, and then you have to repeat Kiddush. And that's what Shmuel meant when he says you need Kiddush in the place of the meal. You need it to be in the same house as you're having the meal. That's what they thought. But if you're in 2 different places in one house, they thought, no. They thought that's already called makom seudah. If you're, as long as you're in the house of the place that you're having the meal, that's enough to be called in the place of the meal. Okay, that's what they thought. However, Rav Anan is going to tell them they were wrong. Amar luhu Rav Anan bar Tachlifa. Rav Anan, the son of Tachlifa, told them, I will tell you something. Zimnin sagi'im. There were many times Hava ka'emna kamei de Shmuel, that I was standing in front of Shmuel. Many times I was standing in front of Shmuel. Uneches mi igra la'ara, and he came down from the roof, meaning the upstairs, la'ara, to the ground floor. So that means he came from upstairs to downstairs to do different places in the same house. And it seems from the story, right, he had made Kiddush when he was upstairs. The Hadar Mekadesh, but when he came down to have the meal, he made Kiddush again. Okay, so what do we see from this story? We see that Shmuel really holds that you not only do you have to make Kiddush again if you're switching from a house to a house, right? From from a shul to your house, Also, if you're in the same house, you still have to repeat Kiddush. Okay, so just a little bit of a reflection going back, right? If you look over here, when we said, Shmuel said over here about the people going from shul to home, you have to repeat Kiddush, right? He says, you're not Yotzi Kiddush, lo Yatsu, right? That's even more so, right? That's from one place to another. That's a whole new two different houses. That's from a shul to that for sure you're not Yotze. But we see over here that not only does Shmuel hold that, Shmuel is so strict about this that even if you're in the same house, even if you're in the same house, you made Kiddush and then you went from upstairs to downstairs, right, two different places in your house, then you also have to make Kiddush. Okay, there's a whole halacha l'maisa. There's a good question is what do we practically do? Does it have to be upstairs, downstairs? That's a discussion we can have in class a little bit more. The halacha about how far do you have to be from Kiddush, and what if it's in the next room over, right? So that's a discussion we can have. Okay. Other than that, that's the sugya. Okay. That is the sugya, two sugyos that's on the test.